So they are aware of those thoughts. And yes, it takes effort. And if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But just because you have a thought doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And when you start looking and observing those thoughts, I think you are like Gandalf, because Gandalf also said, you may not pass. When he meant like that kind of severity when it comes to how we make up our mind about things. That's the kind of energy or intention that begins to create the biggest volume of change in our life. And I've interviewed thousands of people in our work that have healed from really serious health conditions. And I would say about 90% of them, when I ask them, so what happened? The first thing they say all the time is, I just made up my mind. I just made up my mind I was going to do this. And they made a decision with such firm intention that the amplitude of that decision carried a level of energy that was greater than the hardwired programs in their brain and the emotional conditioning in their body. And the choice that they made caused their body to respond to a new mind. In fact, the choice they made became a moment that they would never forget. It was an event. And the stronger the emotion they felt, the more they paid attention to the choice. And in a sense, they were remembering their future. And the body emotionally was getting a sampling, a taste of the future. And they're aligned to that future. And that's when the body's healing began. That's when the miracle started, right in that moment. That's how powerful we really are. Now, what if you did that every day? What if you made up your mind every single day you weren't going to get up from your meditation until you were that person you wanted to be? Game on now. Because you'd have to do battle with all the things that are not consistent with it. And that's exactly how our brain works. So then, if you want to be wealthy, you can't feel lack. You want to be a master, you can't judge your coworker. You want to be like somebody great in history, then you better execute peace in every area of your life. That's the law. So you take the prayer out on the road now. You take the prayer, and you're the living example of the prayer. That's where it matters the most. And that's when people start getting suspicious and say, Sean, man, you change your medication? I mean, you're looking way too happy all of a sudden. Well, you're not relying on anything outside of you to bring you joy. You're overcoming yourself every day. And people say to me, well, why do you do your meditations in the morning? I always say, easy. Because if I can overcome myself at the beginning of the day, the rest of the day is easy. Right. Because that's the biggest mastery, right? Absolutely. Is the self. And so people are waking up to that, and they enjoy the process of seeing when they make those type of changes, the feedback that's happening in their lives. The synchronicities, the opportunities, the coincidences, those serendipities that are starting to happen, and they're going, wow, I am powerful. Hey, I am a creator. And nobody's excluded from the equation. That's what makes it so cool. So people that are really sick, really, really sick, that are healing, they'll tell you that when they go to the doctor and the doctor said, where's the stage 4 cancer? They'll tell the doctor it's in the old person. I'm somebody else. Well, how did you do it? Well, I downregulated the genes for disease by overcoming these emotions and these behaviors and thoughts, and I upregulated the genes for health. The doctor kind of looks at him and was like, wow, because it is possible to do that. And we've actually measured it in our events. We know that in 4 days you can really change your gene expression. Genes that help restore balance, for cancer cells and tumors. Genes that activate stem cells to repair the cells that are damaged. Genes for neurogenesis, the growth of new neurons in your brain. Genes for oxidative balance, for the microtubules, the cellular structure, and the replication of cells. These are all activated in 4 days by people thinking differently, making different choices, doing different things, having new experiences, feeling new emotions. Your genes actually change. And so we're not doomed by our genes. We're not hardwired to be a certain way for the rest of our lives. We are marvels of adaptability and change. So then what does it mean to change? Change means then to be greater than your body. Greater than the body that has been conditioned emotionally to be the mind. Greater than the body habituated into a predictable future. To be greater than the environment. To be greater than the conditions in your life. And if you're not being defined by a vision of the future and you wake up every morning, it makes total sense then when you see the same people and you go to the same places and you do the exact same thing at the exact same time. Now you're personality is no longer creating your personal reality. Your personal reality is creating your personality, because every person, every object, everything, every place is mapped neurologically in your brain. And since you've experienced your boss, since you've experienced your coworker, since you've experienced your ex, the moment you've experienced them, at some point there's an emotion associated with them. So then all of a sudden people wake up, and they're not aware of this, but their environment is influencing the way they think and the way they feel. So when things are going good, they feel good. When things are bad, they feel bad, which means they're victims to their environment. Why are you unhappy? Well, this person made me unhappy, which means unconsciously that person is actually controlling the way I feel and the way I think. Now I'm a victim to that circumstance. So to change then is to be greater than that environment. So then you would have to reprogram the way you'd think and the way you'd feel to no longer return back to the same state of being. Now that's the mastery, because it isn't just having a great meditation and then getting on the freeway and flipping everybody off or judging your coworker.
Right.
You just return back to the old self. You got to be able to maintain that modified state of mind and body your entire day. And if you can, get ready, because weird things are going to happen in your life. So the person who's starting to try it out in a curious way, like, let's just do the experiment. Let's just see if I change my energy, I change the way I think I feel, is there going to be some effect in my life? When they start seeing that, they're no longer like, oh, I got to go create my, my life today. They're actually excited to do it because they don't want the magic to end. They want to keep it going. Now, that's when it gets kind of cool, because this is when you start believing in yourself. And when you believe in yourself, you believe in possibilities, right? When you believe in possibilities, you got to believe in yourself. When you stop believing in possibilities, you can't believe in yourself. So people are waking up and going, wow, it doesn't matter your skin color, doesn't matter how rich you are, doesn't matter how healthy you are, it doesn't matter how young you are, how old you are, how in shape, out of shape. Not even if you've ever meditated before. It doesn't even matter. It's a formula. And you don't need 40 years of dedication to meditation to get it. You just got to understand the formula. And like playing ping pong or hitting a golf ball or dancing the salsa, you're going to figure it out sooner or later, and it's going to get easier and it's going to get fun. That's what we want for people. I assert that if you're not in the present moment, you're running a program, right? And paying attention is being present. And it's a skill just like anything else. The more you practice it, the better you get at it. And you know when someone's present with you in your life because they're paying attention to you. And you know when they're not present with you because they're not paying attention to you. So, where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So if you have all of your attention in the present moment, you're conserving a lot of energy to create with. If I'm talking to you and you're thinking about where you're going to go for lunch and who you're going to go with and how you're going to get there, and I'm talking to you, you left the present moment and your attention went to some future. And your energy will go down and you won't be able to comprehend what I said. If you start thinking about what you should have said at the staff meeting 3 days ago, and I'm talking to you and your mind is back in the past, you're siphoning energy out of the present moment into the past. So people are constantly siphoning their energy into a familiar past or a predictable future because that's where their attention is. And the stronger the emotions that we feel to certain problems and conditions in our life, the more we pay attention to them. Right. So we give our power away to our ex. We give our power away to that big problem. And that's creative energy that we should be able to use to create a new future. So then when a person's sitting in a meditation and they're doing absolutely nothing, and it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and their body for the last 10 years has been going in traffic and getting angry and frustrated in traffic, and now they're sitting in a meditation at 8 o'clock in the morning, the body's going to say, hey, you're off schedule. I'm used to suffering and getting angry here. Yeah. So the body's going to start looking for that emotion, and it's going to start influencing the mind, and you're going to start getting images and memories, just so you could feel that emotion. Like now the person's back in the past. But if they become aware that they're siphoning energy out of the present moment into the past, and they settle the body back down into the present moment, that's a victory. And those victories add up. And you're telling the body in that moment that it's no longer the mind, that you're the mind, and that's a victory. And then people get frustrated and they say, I can't meditate. Oh, really? Well, actually, you're doing it right. That's actually what meditation is. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And then all of a sudden the body says, well, It's 8:15 now. This is when you normally, go get something to eat, and you have your coffee, and your body's starting to want to get up and do something. You become aware that your body wants to get up and move, and you're in the meditation, and you tell your body, You bring it back to the present moment, and you settle it back down. You are training the animal. That's a victory. Now you're executing a will that's greater than the program, because most people lose their free will to a program. Now you're telling the body, I'll tell you when we get up, not when you want to get up. You're not the mind, I'm the mind. And that's a victory. Now, we've done the research on this. If you keep doing this and you stay with it, sooner or later, the body's going to surrender to a new mind. And when that happens, Sean, there's a liberation of energy. The body is freed from those habituations and those emotions. The body's going from particle to wave, from matter to energy. And all of a sudden, you're dialing down the anger. You're dialing down the vigilance. And the body now is being conditioned to a new mind. That is the present moment. And when you're in that present moment, something really amazing happens. You forget about you. All of a sudden, you're not your face, you're not your culture, you're not your marital status, you're not your diet, you're not your past. You're basically just an awareness. You're in the unknown. And that is the perfect place to create from. So it turns out that when people do this properly, they heal themselves of anxiety. Why? Because they're no longer obsessing about some future. When they find the present moment, they heal from their depression because they're not hopeless and powerless in their past. The body's conditioned now. And so then, when they overcome themselves in their meditation and they step out into their life, they are more present. They can connect. They are more patient. They are more loving because they overcome the animal part of themselves. And the beauty behind that is that all of a sudden, you're not predictable. All of a sudden, something's different about Sean. He's not, I'm noticing he's not behaving the same way. You're out of the known, right? You're in the unknown. And all of a sudden, it's no longer what you're saying to them. It's who you are. They're just kind of scratching their head going, hey, he looks like he's really happy. I want some of that. And now, we're out of the philosophical, theoretical realm. We're in the practicum, which is where really the magic happens. So the eternal present moment, the sweet spot of the generous present moment is the place we can create from. And when we're there, we disconnect from our bodies. We become nobody. We disconnect from people in our lives. We're not thinking about our ex or our boss. We are no one. We're not thinking about our cell phone or our computer. We are no thing. We are not thinking about where we live, where we work, where we sleep. We are nowhere. And we're not thinking about the predictable future and the familiar past. We're in no time. And when you're disconnecting or dissociating from everything known, you're in the unknown. And that's where the magic happens.